Right, over here on the right side of the map, a Protoss player on the team Prime. Some people say it looks like a Simpsons character. He's not a specific pro. Instead, he is...
anypro Prime V.
anypro. He looks very focused there in the booth. He wants to win this one. And, you know, it's very important for him. His opponent, over here on the left side of the map, a member of the team MVP. His name is also a color. He is...
MVP Violet.
So, obviously this match, very important for both these players. anypro, a player who doesn't get enough credit, and I'm sure he knows it. He's done consistently well, makes it usually to kind of the round of 8-ish area, and if he loses here today, he may fall down to Code, and Code is going to be pretty tough for him. I think he knows that this is very important for him. Doesn't want to drop down to Code. Well, I mean, losing this means just up and down matches, but he's scared of those up and down matches. Violet is a very different case, whereas this is his first run in Code S, and he wants to prove himself as well. He doesn't want to lose in the first round. That would be kind of embarrassing. People might say, oh, he didn't really deserve to be in Code S. So there's a lot of pride that goes into these matches that people don't talk about enough. Nice little pylon block here. But when your opponent goes gas first, I don't think pylon block's always necessary, but some people like to do it anyways.
Well, it does delay them a little bit longer, but it also forces them to put those first few lings out to deal with it.
Yeah, and it also delays your cyber core sometimes, but nice little timing here by anypro. He actually was able to get that core down just in time. Had to skip his zealot though in order to do it, and he even canceled the pylon. I think he realized this doesn't make sense. He's going for a speedling expand.
With full lings. Full lings on the way here as well. What do you think we're going to see from anypro after that specific match versus Clyde?
Well,
even though it was different.
I think we're going to see a timing attack. It all comes down to, does Violet decide to take a third base quickly or not? And I think anypro is going to be very... he's going to be checking for this very actively. There goes that probe. Does fall. And if he sees the third base, and anypro style, most likely going to do a timing attack. I think to open with, he may go Stargate, but most likely will go for some sort of 3-gate sentry expand, maybe even 2-gate. He's getting a sentry right now. Pretty normal.
Well, we did see Violet versus the Snare just before. He was very hesitant to take that third. And on this map, it's very difficult to actually hold it. So, could be interesting. He does have that drone in there, in the main base here.
Yeah, it's very frustrating for anypro. It's going to make him very reluctant to show anything. He may not actually build anything until that drone's taken out. And basically, if you have good drone control, and you're not, and your opponent is attacking his own probes with the sentry rather than the drone, which does end up happening sometimes, it's very difficult to kill that drone with the sentry. The drone's just so fast, the sentry doesn't kill quickly, but he does clean it up.
He also has those lings at the bottom of the ramp as well. He can poke up if he needs to try and get a little bit of extra information. Nothing as of yet here from anypro. He is banking that 400.
He is going to go for a 1-gate expand. This actually is so difficult to pull off against Zergs, but if you're really good and you've got great force field control and your opponent he's just not making a lot of lings, if you just feel like it's okay, you can do it. But the problem with this is if your opponent knows that you're doing just a 1-gate expand, he can make a ton of speedlings and kill you. That's just how it is. And in fact, Violet does know, so it's a very, very bold move to make a 1-gate expand.
Yeah, it has been seen here by Violet with these lings. He's going to try and get that probe. Does manage to do that. A little bit weird that anypro didn't actually try and defend that at all. But we do have drones being transferred now over here to Violet's natural. Still poking in with these lings up with anypro. With Stargate on the way now as well. We do see the complete wall off here. With an
not making a forge, which is really, really risky. It turns out to be okay because Violet isn't making a ton of lings. He's making a few more lings. He's getting that Roach Warren, but he's not doing that very, very quick Roach speedling all in. But so he's adding more gateways, which is relatively helpful. But getting that forge up would have been extremely useful to hold off some sort of aggression. And we are going to see a little bit of aggression from Violet. He's added the Stargate as well, so anypro just playing extremely risky. Not something you would expect when, if you lose, you go to the up and down matches.
Yeah, we do have that Roach Warren almost being completed here for Violet. That Void Ray as well, which we've seen has been useful in defending fast expansions like this.
There are a decent amount of speedlings outside the base. There's about 11 of them. Not making any roaches, actually getting a very fast lair. I wouldn't be surprised if he got quick roach speed and burrow as he took his third base. Pretty common to see Zergs do that nowadays because timing attacks are so prevalent. And Protoss are just trying to get away with skipping their robo. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There's the Forge going down for anypro, back at the back of his base.
He most likely just saw that Void Ray as well, so he's going to be prepared for that.
Yeah, the Void Ray usually isn't a big secret. The Protosses like to show it. It's worth it to show it to get the Overlord. And it kind of forces a reply. So they're very willing to show that Void Ray. Unless you're doing a specific build where you're trying to hide your Void Rays. But in most cases, you see people just show the Void Ray, try to take map control with it, scare the Zerglings out of watchtowers, things like that. Now, back at home, will anypro add a few more gates and try to go for a timing attack? Or will he just try to play a longer game using that Void Ray, adding some Phoenixes in? We'll have to wait and see.
We can see some good scouting coming through here from this Phoenix.
Yep, this is a real Phoenix, not a hallucination. And Violet will most likely realize this. Has forced him to make one Spore Crawler, is researching +2 melee attacks, so his Zerglings are going to be quite beefy. He's also got Roach Speed on the way, and there's a Robotics Facility on the way for anypro.
As well as a Hydra Den here for Violet. Very interesting choice. He's also getting Overlord movement.
That's drops, actually.
Sorry, drops.
Yeah, he's going to research those drops. I wonder if we'll see him try to go for a Hydralisk drop. That is quite popular against Stargate play, but on the other hand, Hydralisk drops also, or drives also get used in the later game for Banelings. Stable's speechless. So we've got Zerglings running around the middle of the map, trying to find anything that they can. And there's just nothing to find right now. There isn't anything hidden for anypro. He's just kind of sitting back on one base, or rather 2 bases. Turtling a little bit. He's getting a Twilight Council, getting an Observer. Hasn't added any more gateways or really any Stargate tech, so he's just kind of playing a defensive 2-base style. I wonder what his next move is going to be, though.
It's going to be interesting. We do see that Baneling Nest coming out now for Violet, and like you're saying, anypro being very defensive, very safe. We do have that Blink being started now by him. And it's going to be interesting. He has seen that there's no third just yet.
Yeah, and he keeps checking for that with this Phoenix.
I think he wants to try and abuse the timing where that third is actually going to come up, keep it from going down. But Violet at the moment just choosing to stay on 2 bases, get as many units as he can. He looks like he's not making any drones at the moment either. He's just getting a lot of upgrades, a lot of units.
Well, we did see some Baneling drops on Metalopolis earlier today, and there were a lot of Speedlings in them as well. And Hydras, we may see something very similar here today. The interesting thing is Violet is staying on 2 bases, and when you do this, it's something like we saw last time he played against Clyde, or rather Ensnare. If you stay on 2 bases, it's defensive, it's fine, your opponent can't really kill you on your 3rd base. But what happens then? 2 base versus 2 base is not a place you want to be. This drop could do a lot of damage, but if it doesn't, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. So we'll see, though, how much he's really committed to this. And he does not have Overlord speed just yet, so it looks really funny. And it looks like right now anypro just warping in some more units. Getting a Colossus. His first Colossus is on the way. +2 weapons on the way as well. And Violet getting some more Zerglings. He actually is positioning his Zerglings in such a way that it looks like he's going to try to elevator his Zerglings, but they are being followed by this Observer. I don't think that would be the case. Yeah, he's going to actually attack at the front with a few Hydras, mostly Roaches and Speedlings, and then attack maybe with the Banelings at the back. No! He's actually going to bring them with his army and maybe drop on top of the army of anypro. anypro needs to get out. He needs to bait these units away. He doesn't want to engage this near his Nexus.
He's taking a lot of damage on those Overlords going forward. There's the Force Fields going down, and oh, there's a little gap there as well. More Force Fields. All the Banelings being dropped as well. Getting a lot of kills there. Even more Banelings to go in behind, and this looks like it's going to work here. All the gateways are on low health as well. Being taken out. The Colossus comes down on very low health. All the Speedlings surround everything. Going straight up the ramp. There are no force fields to stop them getting in. And that's game.
Yeah, I think that is game. Absolutely unstable. GG! Well, that just worked, man. anypro didn't have enough units. He stayed on 2 base, didn't pressure with his gateways, didn't really make any more Stargate units. Teched slowly to Colossi, and then just didn't get aggressive enough. He had Blink.
Well, he also force-fielded himself against those gateways as well, so we couldn't really stutter step back either.
Yeah, it was really odd. Both of these playstyles were a little bit odd. Obviously, Violet came on top. his aggression worked, but I think that anypro could have played that game a lot more differently, a lot more aggressively. He just basically let his opponent sit in his base, make very few units, get a bunch of upgrades, and then attack. He had +2 melee, so that affected the banelings as well. And as the gates fell, he couldn't reinforce, and everything just died too quickly. All of his units were bunched up. His Colossus was out in a weird spot. That's how it is.
Alrighty, so we're going to have our last game for the day. I believe it is going to be Ensnare versus a Violet rematch.
Yep.
Interesting.
The map is going to be Crevasse, so basically this determines who gets second place in the group.
Yep.
And remember, first place advances, second place advances, third place stays in Code S, fourth place goes to up and downs, and first and second place seeding is important. So it's not just like, oh, it doesn't really matter, he gets second place, he stays in. No, first place is better than second place because you get a better seed.
Yep. And it is only a best of one, so it's a good chance to actually get that tighter seeding out of here. It looks like it is going to be on... Can't see
Crevasse.
from this far. There we go. The screen's all the way over there.
Yeah, I know, and you're trying to read the Hangul and everything.
Yeah.
I can't see what that says.
But it's alright, so we're going to have Ensnare versus Violet rematch. Wonder how they're going to go into this game thinking.
Well, the map is very different. Belcher Beach is a map that's very difficult to take a third base on, and if you do, you have to be very careful. The middle of the map is very harassment-oriented. Crevasse is just kind of like big open space. There's this huge plateau in the middle of the map, and then otherwise, it's just a very big map. And also, the backdoor expansion comes into play. A lot of Prolosses and Zergs really like this map because they can take almost a free expansion. But on the other hand, in ZVT, a lot of Zergs are like, well, it's not really fair because Terran can take a free expansion, and that's a little bit different because then it's a 2-base on 2-base situation. It's hard for the Zerg to take a third. So a lot of Zergs really don't prefer this map in ZVT, for example. So we'll see, though, what Violet's got prepared. I'm sure he's been practicing a lot on this map, especially if he knows that it's in the map pool and it might end up coming up. So
Interesting.
we might end up having a 2-minute break. I'm just seeing all these flashing lights and stuff around me. Yeah, so it is going to be a 2-minute break. See you guys in 2 minutes for the final match.